Centaur. A centaur was a creature from Greek mythology which was half man and half horse. The head, arms and torso of a centaur were human, and joined at the waist to the body and legs of a horse. Centaurs represented barbarism and unbridled chaos, and were frequently represented in Greek architectural sculpture and pottery decoration. The father of the centaur race was Centaurus, himself the offspring of Ixion who had made love to Hera, or more precisely, a cloud made by a jealous Zeus to resemble Hera. The Centaurs were believed to live in the forests of Thessaly, beyond the laws of man. These mythical creatures may actually have had a basis in reality, as there was a tradition in Thessaly of hunting bulls on horseback. And the very word centaur may have originally meant bull killer. Perhaps the horsemen of Thessaly were so skilled that they seemed at one with their horse, and so the myth of a single creature was born. The most famous centaur was Chiron, or Chiron, a more civilized centaur. Chiron was known for his great wisdom and as the tutor of the god of medicine Asclepius, and the heroes Hercules, Achilles and Jason, and his son Medeiros. He is a shadowy figure in mythology and is only a minor character in many myths. Chiron is also believed to have lived in the forests of Mount Pelion. He is most commonly represented wearing a short tunic, chitoniskos, and a cloak and often carrying a branch over his shoulder from which hang hunted animals, such as foxes and hares, perhaps indicating his reputation as being the most civilized centaur. His front legs are often human and he is generally less hairy in both legs and torso, in respect to the other centaurs. In mythology Chiron was an advisor to Peleus, and he is often associated with the king's wedding to Thetis, the Nereid, appearing on representations of the event in Greek art. The couple's son Achilles was entrusted to wise Chiron, for his education during his adolescent years. The great hero also inherited a formidable spear made from Pelion ash which Chiron had given to Peleus. This spear was so large and heavy that only Achilles was sufficiently strong and skilled enough to wield it, something he does with great effect in Homer's description of the Trojan War in the Iliad, where the spear is twice specifically mentioned as a gift from Chiron. The centaur Pholus. A second famous centaur in mythology is Pholus, who hosted the Greek hero Hercules while he was engaged in hunting for the giant boar. One of his celebrated labors in service to Eurystheus, Pholus offered Hercules food and his cave as a place to rest from the hero's labors, and together they had a quiet drink from the gigantic wine-filled Pythos jar that belonged to all of the centaurs and had been a special gift from Dionysus, god of wine. However, attracted by the smell of the wine, Pholus' fellow centaurs gate-crashed the party and a little worse for wear after a few drinks. They began to get rowdy, in the end attacking Hercules. The centaurs were no match for the great hero though, and the fight was predictably one-sided. Unfortunately, in the mayhem, Hercules accidentally killed Chiron with one of his poisoned arrows, dipped in the blood of the Hydra. Pholus was also killed in the incident after rather clumsily dropping a poisoned arrow on his foot. The centaur Nessus. A third centaur we know by name as Nessus, or Nessus, who also foolishly picked a fight with Hercules. The hero and his new wife Deianira attempted to cross the river of Venus, or Eunos, on their way to Tiryns. Nessus offered to carry the girl across the water, but halfway across molested his charge. Hercules, in a typically decisive response, swiftly fired one of his poisoned arrows at the centaur. Although most pottery scenes of the myth depict Hercules with a club or sword, in his dying breath Nessus tricked Deianira by telling her to collect some of his blood, now poisoned because of the arrow, keep it in a jar away from the sun and use it as a love potion if Hercules' love should ever wane. Much later, with rumors of an affair between her husband and Iole, Deianira, in order to win back Hercules' affections, smeared a cloak with the blood of Nessus. However, when the hero put on the cloak, he was driven mad with the agony of the poison on his skin. In despair, Deianira killed herself, and without any hope of a cure, Hercules threw himself on a funeral pyre on Mount Oetae. In a happy ending to the tragedy, Hercules was given an immortal place on Mount Olympus, where he married Hebe, the goddess of youth. Chiron was a renowned mentor and brought up some future heroes such as Achilles, the son of the Argonaut Peleus and the Nereid Thetis. Peleus had a friendly relationship with Chiron, who had already saved him from Acosta and a band of murderous centaurs and later restored the sight of Phoenix, a blind friend of Peleus. When Achilles was old enough, Peleus brought him to Chiron, who received him as a disciple and fed him the innards of lions and boars and bear marrow. In some accounts Achilles was previously called Ligyron and Chiron gave him his new name, Aristeus. Although his mother Cyrene lived in Libya, and father Apollo brought him on Mount Pelion to be reared by Chiron, Aristeus would later become in his life a god of certain rustic arts such as beekeeping and cheese-making. Moreover, he is the protagonist of a creation myth regarding the Etesian winds. Actaeon, the son of Autonoe and Aristeus, an aforementioned student of Chiron. He became an excellent hunter thanks to the Centaur's lessons. In his adulthood, as he was hunting in the woods, he saw the virgin goddess Artemis bathing. She punished Actaeon for seeing her naked body by turning him into a stag. His hunting dogs did not recognize him and devoured him. Ignorant of what they had done, the hunting dogs came to the cave of Chiron seeking their master, and the Centaur fashioned an image of Actaeon in order to soothe their grief. Asclepius, the Greek god of doctors. Artemis killed Asclepius' mother Coronis after her lover Apollo discovered she was cheating on him. But Coronis had conceived a son to him, and before her body had been consumed by the funerary pyre, he saved the child, Asclepius, and brought him to Chiron, who reared him and taught him the art of healing. When Chiron's daughter Osiroe saw him, she prophesied his destiny and death. Because of this, Zeus turned her into a mare. In fact, Asclepius would later die because of his hubris. He had become such a skilled medic he could resurrect the dead. And Zeus would end up killing him for this after getting a complaint from Hades. Though Zeus would later revive him as a god to avoid any feuds with Apollo. Jason, the leader of the Argonauts, was in some versions raised by Chiron. Jason's father Aeson had been locked up by his brother Peleus. Yet he managed to conceive a son with a woman named Alcimede. When Alcimede delivered Jason, she pretended he was a stillborn to escape Peleus' notice and then gave him to Chiron. Jason's son Metis will also become one of the Centaur's students. Metis, alternatively called Medeus or Polyxenus. His mother was Medea, but accounts differ about his father, who may be either Jason, an Asian king, or Agis of Athens. Just like his father, he was reared by Chiron. Later in his life he would become the first king of the Medes. Patroclus is also numbered amongst the students by Statius, a Roman poet of the 1st century AD, in his unfinished work, the Achilleid. Although Homer clearly contradicts him,